All right, everybody, we are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru, and I have the brother David on with us all the way from the UK, gloomy UK. And today's topic is Spike Lee wrong for his comments about Black British actors? Now, I didn't read, I haven't read the comments yet, but I know John Bodega, is that his name?
Yeah, John Boyega.
Boyega. I know he called Spike Lee stupid, or he might have said something about Spike Lee.
Yeah, he called him trash.
He called him trash.
Yeah.
So what was said? And then actually, this is the second time because I know Samuel L. Jackson
Yeah.
also came after Black British actors, and of course, Yvette Carnell is coming at him as well. Because I think she's British, a Nigerian British woman, is supposed to play Harriet Tubman.
Oh yeah.
I know some people are outraged about that.
Oh
But,
yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. But what exactly did Spike Lee say?
So I'm just rereading the article now, and from what I heard in his Netflix show, She's Gotta Have It, there was a scene, and in that scene, I believe the scene kind of had two people talking and kind of taking some kind of low-key swipes at Black British actors in the in African American acting spaces, and it wasn't so much like I think it was just kind of like they kind of made like a little cheap joke at like some typical kind of African name, and just the typical comments, as you said, the things that we would hear from an Yvette Carnell or whoever saying about Black British actors not having the same ability to portray those roles because of descendancy issues, like not being descendants of the American slavery experience,
right,
in America. Now, I've spoken on this as anyone who would have ever seen me on any of the my other episodes on Grapevine, stuff like that. We've spoken about this a lot in the UK, especially when it first came up with Samuel L. Jackson. And I think the way you phrased it is a good way to start this conversation, which is Spike Lee, justified in putting that comment or, relaying those comments out there? And to shock a lot of people, even probably yourself from our previous conversations, I don't think that he's unjustified. I feel like there's definitely room for what he's saying, in the sense that this, right?
Go ahead.
There's no way whether we, the Black Brits, the Black British actors that are going over there, there's no way that we can say we're not taking, the roles. It's not like we're going over there, obviously, specifically to usurp historically important roles. But
right.
Obviously, like you said, Harriet Tubman about to be allegedly played, if it does go through and everything, be played by a British Nigerian, John Boyega in Detroit playing
Fred Hampton, right?
Now, I'm not sure if he played Fred Hampton, although I did hear about the Fred Hampton casting, but he didn't play Fred Hampton. In Detroit, I think he just plays like a Detroit police officer during like a really famous riot situation thing there. And obviously, I can't remember the dude's name, but the guy who played Martin Luther King in Selma. And
I can't remember his name either, but I know who he is.
Yeah, that brother. Now, obviously, without question, yeah.
Hold on, let me cut you. Sorry to cut you off, Philip Breton. If that is the case, then Spike Lee is 100% right on that. I refuse to believe Africans wouldn't be offended if we played other African roles. I disagree because
you already have.
Who's the light-skinned dude from Hustle and Flow?
Terrence Howard.
He played Nelson Mandela.
Yep, and Steve Biko was played by Denzel Washington.
And then Jennifer Lewis. No, not what's her name? The singer. She played Winnie Mandela.
Jennifer Hudson.
Jennifer Hudson. She played Winnie Mandela.
Exactly, and I find this a little bit of a stretch here, because we have to really also take into account, right, who have been the global face of Black acting in movies for the past 25 years. It's been African Americans. We can't act like African Americans haven't played Africans before. We need to stop that whole, but they wouldn't like it. Really, go to Nigeria and go show a good film about someone from Nigeria. Ain't nobody caring too tough like that if it's an amazingly done film. Yes, there will always be people out there that will say, yeah, you know, we'd love to have a Nigerian do it. But to act as if Africans don't already kind of know that that happens, like, to me is a little bit like, come on, you can't have everything and then say you have nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and even regardless of that, like, you're right, there has been Black Brits playing Black Americans, but African Americans have played Africans as well. Maybe not as many.
Here's another. Will Smith played the concussion, the Nigerian.
And he, you know what I mean? He did the acting was okay, the accent was terrible. You know, like,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but I didn't see Nigerians losing all of them. Man. Some people, yes, did speak on it, and I think there's definitely a respectful way to speak on it. But at the same time, I come back to one major problem, and it's this: if I look at I'm trying to think of a film, right? I'm trying to think. If I look at any film like Boys in the Hood, for example, right? Boys in the Hood, right? There wasn't a problem of Black British actors in Boys in the Hood because in as far as I'm aware, and in my opinion, that was a generic, like, real, genuine film done by, you know, people, and they casted the right people. If you're looking at major Hollywood people and all these other casting agencies that we as Black people, whether in Britain or America, we don't control that.
Exactly. So, David, I was going to get to that too, because somebody in the chat room just said, hold on, here we go. Somebody in the chat. Oh, here we go. Forrest Whitaker played Idi Amin in King.
Exactly.
It was a great fucking movie.
Exactly, that was a great movie.
Yeah, who wrote, directed, and produced the movies? That's and you're getting to that. Like, you know,
if we don't own or have at least some sort of heavy influence in a certain level of kind of controlling these productions and films. My problem is this, and I'll give a great example, right? You seen the Avengers movie that's out now?
Right.
And you see recently they had like the Spider-Man movies, right?
Right.
Like, you know, the guy that's playing Spider-Man is a white boy from the UK.
Didn't know that. I knew he's white, but I didn't know he's from the UK.
Oh yeah, he's an English dude, right? And for me, I look at that and say, okay, if white Americans don't like that, they're in a position where, at least with regards to certain films and within certain kind of, you know, controls in that, they have the control to make those changes and do what they do. But white Americans and white Brits, yeah, there might be some disagreement, but relative to the amount of the industry wealth they are taking back, they're not arguing massive scale over this. The same with, for example, The Wire. A lot of people always talk about Idris Elba being a Black British actor on The Wire. No one also says that the main police officer in The Wire, Detective McNulty, he was also played by a British person. So we literally have in the same show a white and black equivalent where we've got two actors from the UK. Now, one of them did a fantastic job, and then we wind up later, yeah, he's still revered for his role in it and all that type of stuff, but I never heard him question McNulty. And my problem is if everyone else is able to get along whilst collecting the paper, why are we not focusing on owning and controlling some stuff, getting the bread, and then maybe working together wherever we can at the end of the day? That's my biggest query. And another thing is that I look at it and I say, okay, in a post-Brexit world and in a Trump administration, America and the UK are really kind of trying to seal a lot of deals and kind of, in a sense, get a little bit kind of closer economically, politically, all these types of things. And I just don't see how anybody's going to win. I just don't get how anybody's going to win when the Negroes on both sides are arguing over scraps. I don't get it. And especially from Spike Lee, who works in the background of films. He's worked, he's not an actor who just comes in, acts, does what he does. He's, you know, director, writer, all of that stuff. He knows the structure of the industry. So for me, my question is, you know, Spike Lee, you are the person who knows the answers to this. Why don't you give us some answers instead?
Mm-hmm. Guys, let's get these likes up. We have 122 people watching, only 34 likes. Hit that Hit that like button as you come into the chat room, please. But I think that's the issue, and don't get me wrong, David. I at one time understood where a lot of African Americans, ADOS, whatever you want to call it, were coming from.
Likewise.
But then at the same time, I remember when Yvette Carnell was whining and crying about how there were non-ADOS in Black Panther. And then so I said, okay, I get it. So how about we create our own casting agencies, produce our own movies, control the distribution of our own movies, fund our own movies. Then we could control who we want to cast. And then she came on this tangent, Black folks ain't got no money. We ain't got no money. And so I'm like, oh man, okay. So again, if we don't control who the casting, then why instead of going after, the Black British actors, how about you take that energy and go after the casting directors if you're that upset?
I've looked at this as amongst other things, right? And I feel that there can be a bit of a whining culture, not from just Black Americans, not just from Black Brits, not just from Africans, not just from Caribbeans, but in general. It's like sometimes I look and I say, do you know, at some point you've really got to understand that if you don't control the economics, you don't really control it. So, okay, we accept this with every other facet of life. And to some effect, we have to be a bit honest, where it's like, well, a lot of people take a lot of shit from us, and a lot of people don't have nothing to say. But the minute a Black person does it, we suddenly develop our pair of balls and suddenly start taking swipes and all of these stupid little comments here and there. And I think, especially speaking to like a few of my boys and that, like on the topic, one of the things which I feel like is kind of going around a little bit is like people are just getting really tired of this argument because it relies on something which is unrealistic. It's unrealistic that Black British actors are going to turn away roles in Hollywood because unfortunately, whether Spike Lee wants to remember or not, Hollywood is the global film center. That's just the way it is. And unfortunately,
well, see, this is the thing. You're right.
It doesn't give us right to come and take something from somebody else, but at the same time, I would rather see Spike Lee speak to Idris Elba about, I don't know, how can we establish some sort of casting agency that's getting maybe some Black American actors some roles in the UK, maybe some Black British actors some low-key roles, maybe people can cast their own movies. I can agree. Having Harriet Tubman played by a Black British Nigerian, I can't say that it's wrong that it rubs some people the wrong way. But at the same time, I think it's unrealistic to put out the comment and then, because I always think, what afterwards, right? So Spike Lee says what he says. Okay, so what? Black British actors are going to then just suddenly start turning down roles in America.
And that's the thing, like, yeah.
It's like, come on, we got to think of an actual, like, a plan of out of it, because we can't rely on people to walk away from acting roles, especially because there is no acting available that much for Black Brits in the UK. Idris Elba is trying to do things. He just shot a film called Yardie, which, again, did quite well over here. You know,
now there was controversy with that because I guess an Indian woman played like a lead role, and this is about the Black struggle, I guess, or is that the?
Oh no! I think I know what show that was. That was about I think that was a show about like some Black British Black Panthers or something like that. I do remember that as well. And even so, again, for us over here, I look at that, and again, now I see it from the same perspective, which is how do we get Black British people represented in that film, or in that series or film, whichever it was. But at the same time, I'm not going to formulate some sort of a plan which is going to be based on she has to quit for me to succeed. It's like, she's going to take that role. She's going to take that money. She's going to take that exposure. She's going to run with it. How do we formulate a better way? And again, you know as well as I do, and many of us on here know about how the principles of do for self, that's what we need, really.
Right. Well, but let me say this, David. So I remember when Nollywood was first, I guess, somewhat on the scene, and the same Black actors who were complaining now about Black British actors taking the roles, you know, they were clowning Nollywood. Now, Nollywood, even though, you know, the production isn't that great, you know, it's like what, number 3 in the world?
It is. And
After number 4, number 3 and number 4?
They're starting to get Nollywood films on Netflix. Like, they're the best of the Nollywood films, but there's one I think called The Wedding Planner, which is actually fucking hilarious. It is a very funny film. I'll give it all its due. Even like, you know, we can kind of get the kind of comedy of African films, but like even that one across the board was funny. But one thing that upset me was actually, I think a couple years ago there was this hype of this girl. What was her name? Something like a Oyibo princess. And she was like appearing in a lot of Nigerian films.
Oh, is this the white girl that can speak pidgin?
Yeah, her. And do you know what really bothered me? What bothered me was that why is she over there getting any money to do that? Like, I'm thinking in my mind, I was like, obviously, we know how some brothers and sisters back home will be over a white girl that can speak pidgin and that. But I'm thinking, I'm like, why can't we work together in that regard? And in even on my part, I'd say I look at African directors and filmmakers, maybe some at the top, and I say, okay, let's start pushing out and seeing if we can do films with our, you know, brothers and sisters across the world. Like, let's actually see if we can actually start pushing out and doing that, rather than, you know, allowing this, you know, tacky little girl come along and, you know, run her little game. It's a difficult one, Dynast. I don't want people to think that we feel that we have, and especially that, first off, I don't speak for nobody but myself as well. Before anybody gets upset about my representation, I speak for me. But I don't want anyone to think that we can just bowl over and do what we want, and like we don't appreciate why it's important to give people their time and their roles to push people up and forward. But at the same time, it's like taking a shot at the little guy in a weird way. Not that we're the little guy, but it's like the big guy in a sense is these big Hollywood agencies, these casting people, all that. It's like keep the fight with the people that are in control. You know what I'm saying? At least for me, when I look at that and I look at like a Spike Lee, and it's sad, man. It's real sad. It's real boring. And people got to remember, Black Brits, you know, there's gonna come a time where, like, you know, I don't want people to have to get to a point where everybody's arguing online and shit like that.
Right.
For people to recognize who another group of people is. But you have to speak up for yourself, and you have to stand up and say, wait, come on now. Like, you lot have all the advantages in the sense that you're from there. Obviously, the people casting, you know, the other people outside of our community, they might view us in different ways and try and play that against each other. It's our job, in my opinion, to be aware of that and to make sure that we don't like go over there, tread on nobody's toes unwillingly or unknowingly. You know, I'd say that to all of us in the diaspora, which is respect our brother's neighborhood. You know, if I come to America, I want my Black Americans to, you know, I want to come to Black America. If I go to Canada, I want to go see Black Canada. If I go to, you know, all these places, I respect that. But at the same time, we have to be realistic in a global world.
Guys, we got 169 people watching, only 65 likes. Let's hit that like button. Now, hold on. Let me read this comment. K, where is it? Let me find it. K Elise says, ADOS fights for everything. Everyone else runs. They run away from their home and come take what we fought for without even giving recognition to our ADOS elders that paved the way. And Kelly, the issue with that statement, I understand where you're coming from, is again, until we build our own, because when you say they come and take everything away that we fought for, it's under, I mean, again, they're taking jobs from white corporations. So how can we say that we control jobs and who should get these jobs with white corporations? That's the issue with that statement. Now, until we build our own, then we control who we want to hire and fire and our narrative. But if you're talking about, you know, in your statement that you're tired of, I guess, everyone coming here and taking positions that we aren't, in essence, providing on our own, then that's not that. I mean, that's not really true.
Hey, Dinus, do you mind if I ask you something? Because you travel a lot
Go ahead.
for your shit, right?
Go ahead.
As a Black American, do you notice the kind of privilege you have, in a sense, as a Black person traveling around the world? Black Americans, in a sense, can
Absolutely.
be more welcome. Can be more welcome. Can be
Absolutely.
more welcome. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, I do.
All right.
I do.
Do you think that is that something which you think is like known, like widely or amongst people or at all?
It's not, because a lot of black. I mean, only with like 5% of even that, maybe 4% of black people even have passports.
Yeah. All right.
So they don't travel.
In a
They
sense,
don't travel.
I guess one thing I guess I feel, and this isn't for Spike Lee because Spike Lee has traveled and Spike Lee knows better, which is a part of the kind of the look back. Really,
In fact, I'll give you a story. In Nigeria, I can't think of the name of the DJ, but black DJ, from a black American, was in Florida, I believe. Couldn't get anything started. Couldn't get his career off the ground. Goes to Nigeria and blows up.
exactly. Like that's for me. I don't know. I look at that and I just say that's what works in a sense. You know what I mean? Like I look at that and I always said to myself, like that level of exchange is so much more. It is more productive, but I'm not gonna say that in a way where I want it to sound like I'm just shitting on comments without considering it. One thing I think as Black Brits we have to do is and respect to John Boyega, I like him, and I hear he's quite a very very conscious brother. I've heard allegedly, but we got to do better than just saying trash. I hate that culture. I hate that whole just say something's trash and that's over. Like, nah, like we got to kind of really peel these layers here, and we got to kind of call it really as it is and say, yeah, we know what the situation is. We're aware of it, and we want our people. Obviously, we want everyone to win, but at the same time, we have to be realistic, and that's where I look at it from a Spike Lee, and I don't see it as realistic. Like I don't get the end picture of it. Now, even in the same article I'm reading, by the way, about what Spike Lee said, apparently John Boyega spoke to Samuel L. Jackson, and like apparently they had like a good old conversation, and there's a picture of them like laughing and chucking it up. So for me, I know that the issue comes up, and like every now and again with films and stuff, it comes up and what have you. But even there, to me, it seems a little bit like if it was that deep, it'd be that deep. And actually, no, there's something else I wish to address, which is this.
Go ahead.
There's one comment which particularly sets a lot of people off in the UK, which is that Black Brits don't have the experience in the sense of dealing with racism to play these roles to justify it. Now, I'll say this. The Black British experience is different from the Black American experience. It is not that. I mean, there's differences. I'm not going to lie. There's huge historical differences. But if you're a Black person in the UK, what are some of the things you're dealing with? You're worried about, knife crime or jail, poverty, the justice system. Some people might say it don't work for us and that. Some people might say, look at the statistics, huge amounts of us go in jail, unemployment, lack of ownership in the community. Does that sound familiar to you, Dinus?
Yeah, to me, it's the same thing here in America.
So that's where for me, I lose it, because I'm like, you mean to tell me we're doing the exact same thing in two different places? We have a whole internet to talk to each other, but we can't figure out a cooperative way to help each other. One of the biggest reasons why I speak at all, one of the biggest reasons why I believe in anything I believe in is, and I know some people like him, some people don't, but Dr. Boyce Watkins once came to the UK, and I went to his event. And I saw people I went to uni with that I played American football at uni. I saw some of my teammates who I hadn't seen in years there. And I saw Dr. Boyce on stage, doing his thing. I saw a panel of people from the UK that was there doing their thing. And I saw people that came from as far as Norway in the room to see him. And there was one point where they was asking some questions in the crowd and all that type of stuff. People was asking questions. One sister stood up and she talked about, you know, something to do with one of her businesses. Do you know the line to speak to her was longer than the line to take a picture with Dr. Watkins?
Oh, wow.
Now, for me, that's the whole point. Dr. Watkins did not come over to give that woman a boost or whatever, but he had his event. He wanted to get the right people in the room. The right people started talking. I saw afterwards the work that's been done and different things that happen, etc., etc., etc. Same that happens with many panel shows or many times where we actually gather and get to do something constructive. Things actually get done. Do you know when things don't get done? When men who are in positions to actually affect the change they're complaining about take swipes at the work rather than the powers that be. That's when we sit around and waste our damn time. And, you know, a lot of people might say, who is this guy to talk to Spike Lee? Bro, who is Spike Lee to chat to? Like, for me, right, the question of blackness, like, with us, it's like when we're not busy questioning each other's blackness, we can get people together in a room, we can talk, and we can be productive. But if anyone wants to check the history of the UK, whether Black Brits have had a heart, like it, you know, pick up a book. It's there. Like things happen. Like I'm not saying that we're the same as Black Americans, but to say that we have it easy, that's insulting, bro. Like that's insulting to every time I've been stop and searched. You know, they call it stop and frisk in New York. They call it stop and search in the UK. It's the same damn thing.
Right.
And it's boring. And you know what? It's a sad one, but you know, at the same time, you know, some people like Spike.
Well, David, the argument would be, the counter argument would be, the racism in Europe in general is nowhere on a level as the racism in America.
Well, I would question. Do you know what I'd question? You know what I'd question?
Go ahead.
I would question if that's the case. I would like to ask, you know, since the Haitian wet foot, dry foot scandal policies they used to have back in the day, where they wouldn't let the Haitians come to America, but they would let the other people come to America. If I'm correct, I remember it was like a refugee thing back in the day, and I remember it was like the Cuban refugees, they got to stay in America, but they turned away a lot of Haitian refugees.
Right. This is just recent.
Exactly, but like other than that, when in recent American history have Black Americans had to wake up and see, like, countless times we're seeing Black people drowning off the coast of Italy? I can say I've had the experience of meeting a lot of people from Africa that live on the European continent, places like France, Germany, etc. Blah 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 blah. The unspoken horrors that they go through. I would tell you this, right? I'll tell any Black American to their face. Go to Europe, go to the dirtiest, grimiest corners, and go speak to the Africans there, and go speak to them on how they've been attacked by white supremacists, and there ain't no police to report it to, ain't no cameras you can record it in. Like, the sad thing is that as bad as it is in America, at least in a sense, Black Americans, not, you know, I'm not saying everywhere is perfect or anything like that, but it's like, I would rather be a Black person struggling in America than a Black person alone struggling in Russia, because that's a whole, you know, it's the same violence, but in some situations it's not more bad than the Black American situation. It's not less bad. In my opinion, it's different. But if we want to talk about main markers, violence, it's there. Prison, it's there. Deportation for those of us in communities where people immigrate. Deportation is there. We got people in the UK, because people already forgetting the Windrush scandal. They deported grandparents. I'm talking about people that showed up before Jamaica was even legally recognized as its own country, that went back to see their daughter or something in Jamaica, and they got diabetes, they got cancer, they got held up, they got put in jail in Jamaica. You got people that are getting deported from the UK that were born here. So I don't want to hear nothing from nobody about who has it worse. It's stupid. I've got people that been, you know, had their whole lives taken away from them by the police. We got our own incarceration issues over here. Why are we doing who's got it worse? But at the same time, yeah, the Ku Klux Klan and Reaganomics and all of that. I'm not here to say that that type of stuff isn't astronomical. And I'm not here to say that in a lot of ways it probably is measurably worse. But that's not to say that these black populations are having it easy. They're just dealing with nasty comments whilst everyone else is getting killed. Nah, there's people over here getting killed too. And the sad thing is I remember when Trayvon Martin got killed, when Tamir Rice got killed, I saw bigger turnouts at Leicester Square for protests for dead black Americans than I have for some dead black Brits. And that, to me, that's a part of something which is starting to, that hurts, man. Because it's like, what? I've seen the whole street packed out with people saying, hands up, don't shoot.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen embassies, people stood outside them.
Whoa. Somebody just said something in the chat room. Fitawari Fitness. You're absolutely right. And, me and Brother Holub talk about this. At the end of the day, ADOS chose integration over independence. That's why with this whole ADOS movement is like, what is the end game? If the end game is not getting your reparations and either asking for a nation of your own or integrating into an African country, you're still going to face
same issues,
systematic racism.
Yep.
So, and you still got, what's the end game? You're right. I mean, you got a point. We chose integration over independence.
How do you feel the ADOS movement from your perspective as a Black American? Like, how do you feel about how that's progressing, at least? Because I know that they're starting to talk about it in, like, the news. Like, it kind of got mentioned.
I mean, it's because this is the thing. The black vote is the swing vote. So, now they're starting to listen, because you got a lot of black people that are like, fuck it, I'm not voting. Myself included. If reparations aren't on someone's ballot, I'm telling you right now, I'm not voting.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right.
So, people are starting to bring it up because they need that black vote.
I see.
Until they can find a way to replace our vote. So if you notice, the Democrats are trying to, do this and do that so they can get all these illegals, the right to vote.
Yeah.
They're playing that game. But at the end of the day, the black vote is the swing vote. You get the black vote, I mean, you win.
Do you know what? Even speaking back to the differences between, like, you over there and us over here, when I said in some regards I'd rather be kind of struggling in America than struggling in Russia, that's the type of thing I'm talking about. Black people in Russia don't have a political grouping big enough to hold an influence on a national election. Now, obviously, that's not to say that the powers that be are suddenly going to play nice and going to start abiding by the rules and opening up the doors and all that type of stuff. We know what life is, and we know what they're going to do. But at the same time, I admire it, and I look at that and I think, like, wow, like being able to use that to one's advantage is a powerful thing. How do you think? Do you think anybody? What about what's his name? What's his name? Father of mass incarceration. What's his name?
Bill Clinton.
No. The other geezer, the Obama's homeboy, Biden.
Biden.
Yeah, do you think he'll run with it?
No, it's Trump's election to lose.
Yeah, and the sad thing
Trump is going to be in office for another 6 years.
I don't see him losing. I don't see anybody coming through and putting that gamble down, because no one's gonna go and pay for that bill. No one wants to cash that check. But at the end of the day, it's an interesting one. I still reiterate what I said when we first spoke, which is I hope that it works out. Now I hope that, especially reading the likes of, like, Dr. Claude Anderson's and other, minds like that, to hold your vote strategically, I think it's smart, especially seeing as how at this point, I don't think for anybody globally, that it's wrong to say, what can you bring to the table? Because too often we're flattered by dumb words. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's a sad one, though. It's a sad one. I'm disappointed. I'm super disappointed with this Spike Lee comments, man. Because at the same time, I wonder, like, do you see this particular talking point? do you see it like growing to a point where it will, in some regard, positively influence Black American actors getting positions in certain ways, or do you think that it's still going to go?
No, I mean, again, the end game has to be, we have to build our own, and they're not. That's not, for some reason, that's not part of the solution. It's just get a check and beg. Basically, what ADOS is, it's the same thing MLK wanted, just more militant integration, but we want to check for
That's an interesting phrase.
I mean, that's basically all it is. So, you know, it's just militant integration and with the reparations on the side. That's all it is. Which I agree with the reparations, but as far as the militant integration, it's like, okay, well, we're going to be 20 years down the line, 40 years down the line, our kids are going to be, you know, going to be facing the same issues, but it's just, we got to check this time.
It's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. What did you think of the South Africa election result?
I wish Malema would have won, but he didn't.
I was so mad. I was so mad. I mean, like, I think it was like 44 seats, he said.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's great, but I wanted the whole thing. I was so mad the next day. But at the same time, though, you know, 44 seats, an improving situation. I'm interested. I've seen on a lot of other places, though, he's finally getting the recognition across the continent as the guy to look at. I think he's going to do some big things, Mr. Malema.
Listen, you need to stop lying. ADOS don't want any integration. Shit, tell that to Vet and Tone Talks. That's all they talk about is militant integration with reparations. Please.
I mean, shit. At this point in time, you know, it's your balls in my from my judging point, balls in you guys' hand. You know what I mean? Like, you guys have a lot of control and a lot of good momentum and a lot of good energy coming out. So hey, maybe there'll be a big U-turn. Maybe Joe Biden will offer. Maybe it'll turn out. Who knows?
Mm-hmm. Let's see here, brother. Can someone else come on for 15 minutes and
yeah, man,
we ask a question? Sub-Zero, do you want to hop on?
Sub-Zero.
Yeah, he disagrees with you.
Absolutely.
We got to be we have to be respectful. Hold on.
Hell yeah.
I know Black Guys TV said he wanted to come on too, but he hasn't emailed me yet. So
yeah, sure. Yeah. What's the chat saying? Does it am I highly disagreeable today? Or
some disagree, some agree. You know, it's like 50-50.
Healthy conversation.
Well, really like 60-40 in your favor.
Healthy conversation. Healthy conversation. It's not even about one, like, me being right, anyone else being wrong. More to the fact that, again, we're coming, and you see what I'm doing here as well, by the way. I'm coming to a certain platform in a certain regard to discuss this with certain people, putting out certain comments publicly and airing out everything to the media. Sometimes I look at that and I just think, like, what are we doing? Like, I like David Banner because he once said, some things we just don't need to be putting out like that. Some things we need to talk to each other about. But all right, Spike Lee, I'm gonna let you do your thing. Samuel, he had his moment. I saw him around a lot of people doing this thing. All right. And for anybody that is interested in the Black British film industry, I would always recommend, if you want to know what Black Brits are like, if you want to know what Black Brits go through, there's a film called Kid Adulthood. It's like KIDULTHOOD. Kid Adulthood, right there. That film.
El Malik El Wahid, you must be one of those Moors. All right, so except for you, Dinas, you still spewing misinformation. Listen, hey, so David, listen, he must be one of these indigenous Moorish sovereign citizens. Listen, because he got L all throughout his name. I went to court yesterday. Listen, I went to court yesterday for my name change. So I added my Yoruba name to my name. So instead of Dinas Demir, it's Dinas Ebefe Adewale Amir. So, you know, the judge comes and the judge says, hey, everyone's here for their name change. What we need is your, so basically you have to have a notice in a newspaper ran for 4 consecutive weeks. Basically, you know, hey, this person, Dynas Amir, is changing his name to Dynas Ebefe Adewale Amir, right?
Okay.
So you have to bring that. Then she said you need to bring a government issued ID. Then she pauses and says, no more sovereign citizen ID, you'll be thrown out. Listen, I almost lost my shit I almost lost my shit in the courtroom. She repeated, no more citizens, that will not be allowed. You will be thrown out. I wish I could have recorded in the courtroom.
Oh man, it's
So
just
this
routine.
LL guy, you know, they have the L and the bays and all this stuff. I just whatever.
I love that the most like those Arabic names. You never like. Sometimes I look at that and I'm just like, you know, I'm like, do people realize how Arabic these names are? It's like, you know, Arabs, they've been in Africa, sure, but they ain't always our best buddies.
Right.
But you know, hey, more ironic I said that. More power to them. You know, if they go go out there,
That's it was what she said.
sovereignty
She said this
God,
more. She said no more.
no more
She said no more citizen ID. That does you'll be thrown out. And I started laughing my ass off. So
self-declaration. What don't you have to declare yourself like a company or something like that, or some shit like that? Or
no, they got all this. It's just you have these people that think they're gonna beat white supremacy. You know, they're gonna outsmart white supremacy by adding L or Bay to the name. You know, and it's just like, okay, all right, good luck.
I love it. I love it.
You know, and so they were laughing again. I was about to lose it in the courtroom. So yeah. She's not honoring the Treaty of Morocco. Exactly.
Oh wow.
The Treaty of Morocco. The Treaty of Morocco. Yeah. So
look at that. And you know, I hope people are aware, like, you know, not all of these Moroccans don't love everybody like that. Like, if you go to Morocco,
crazy, like, okay, Moore, go to Morocco.
Yeah, they don't like
laugh your ass out of the fucking airport, and they know it. Oh God, it's just.
Oh, man. Good times, man. Good times, man. Good times, man. Do you have many of the Do you have many Hebrew Israelites where you are in America?
They're out here too, man. They're out here too.
Okay, no. Well, you know, they're out there. Everyone's out there, and you know, if more power to whatever you believe and everybody else out there. However, for me, there comes a certain point when we as a people have to start getting. We have to get to a certain place of realism, and we got to tangibly kind of start deviating into some real action that can just help people, right? I hate the ideological stuff that sometimes can derail people. It's like, nah, man, believe what you want to believe, but you know, don't let it hold us back another 20 years just because you're trying to honor an ancient, you know, treaty with Morocco, or because, you know, you believe this, or because I believe this, or whatever. It's like at some point there has to be certain things which we have to be willing to say, like, okay, we're all gonna need water, food, enterprise, you know, businesses, jobs. Like, these are things which no matter what we can all agree on. Like, let's try and focus. Let's try and focus, people. Please, let's try and focus. It's 2019. We can't keep going this way forever.
Hold on, this is my favorite. Hold on, let me play this for you real quick. Hold on, let me play. This is my favorite one.
You may not have heard of the Moorish Nationals, but these members claim to follow Moorish science. It comes from a black religious group that's been around.
Hold on. Let me play this. Hold on. Let me play this. Let me play this real quick. Hold on. Let's see here. Yeah, let's see. Let me share the screen real quick. Here we go.
These have members claim to follow Moorish science. It comes from a herd of the Moorish nationals, but police have members claim to follow Moorish science. It comes from a black religious group that's been around for nearly a century. Most of its members obey the law, but not everyone. Chip Reed looks at how some use their religion to justify the crime.
This 35,000 square foot mansion in an exclusive corner of Bethesda, Maryland, has 12 bedrooms, 17 bathrooms.
Fucking hell.
Handed by President Clinton and Vice President Gore. On the market for nearly $6 million, it's not exactly a steal. So imagine real estate agent Jordan Feinberg's surprise when he learned someone had moved into the vacant property.
The owner calls me again and says, the neighbor called, there are people inside the house claiming they own the house. And
Lamont Butler.
So his Fez and Patel or Bay in the his last name, you could just legally squat in a mansion. Put on your Fez and put L or Bay at the end of your last name, and you can legally squat.
For real? Lord have mercy.
He even provided documents issued by the so-called Moorish.
Is this the treaty between America and Morocco? Is this the Treaty of Morocco? Hey, is this the Treaty of Morocco?
Across the country, Butler and many other self-styled Moorish nationals have laid claim to property and status they say is lawfully theirs because their ancestors were here first.
Indigenous as well. Okay.
Using heavy chains, charged with trespassing, burglary, and theft. Gentry, who prefers the name Abka Ray Bay.
Abka Ray Bay.
Oh.
Hey, so if you get a Fez, put Bay or L at the end of your last name, you two can squat legally. Then you get your ass hemmed up.
Oh wow! I didn't. Oh Lord! I didn't.
Hey, so I guess the Treaty of Morocco didn't work again.
No, I guess there's there's an international incident brewing here because by the looks of it. Oh man, that's so peak. Oh brother. Oh come on, man. What annoys me is you knew this.
Hold on, Dave. He has diplomatic immunity because of the Treaty of Morocco. In a stolen car.
Oh, yeah, that's it. That's the pack.
Now let me say this about Noble Drew Ali. Now,
he was really about that. He was really about that life. He was really like a real like.
Moors have completely shitted on his legacy. Now he was the first Muslim in America.
For real.
Noble Drew Ali was the first ever Muslim in America, and because of that, the Moroccan government gave him citizenship because he was the first. I mean, it was kind of like you get an honorary doctorate.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
Honorary citizenship because of what he did in America. But these pseudo Moors, L and Bay, took that shit and ran with it and decided, okay, well now we could just squat in houses, steal cars, ride around with no license. And it's just like, golly.
It's a shame, man. That's a real shame. That's a real, like, I look at that and I feel like as much as I know that people, believe different stuff and all that type of stuff, like, don't go getting, what the hell is that? Moorish Empire.
Driver's license, you can lay claim to property. Spencer Dew, who studies the movement, says Moorish Americans have long taken pride in being American citizens. But as the group splintered over the decades, some offshoots.
See, that's what happened. These dusty pseudo Moors aren't the noble Drew Ali Moors. They just went and they're just fucking shit up.
Abandoned that view.
But I also think we have some opportunistic individuals, some sort of lone wolf elements.
Jeff Fort is perhaps the most notorious movement member. The former leader of a violent Chicago street gang, he was convicted in 1987 of conspiring with Libya's Gaddafi regime to blow up U.S.
The vast majority of Moorish communities
Not a good book.
are not involved in any of this sovereign citizen ideology, not involved in fraudulent behavior, not involved in criminal acts.
That's not a good one.
He eventually abandoned the Bethesda mansion, but he still faces charges of burglary, theft, and fraud. He's currently out on bond.
Damn. So your Treaty of Morocco, the Treaty of Morocco, you still had to pay bond?
In it.
But usually you call a realtor to unlock the door for you.
For CBS This Morning, Chip Reed, Washington.
Yeah. So all you L's and bays that come here on here talking shit, you're gonna catch hell from me. But see, that wasn't my favorite video. There was another one, but you know.
There's where's L Sub-Zero? Where's he?
I don't know. I don't know. Hold on. Here's
where is he at?
I don't know who this is. I don't know where he's at. But brother, now did you just send me an email?
Yeah. Well, it's a link right there to a track by a good friend of mine.
Okay.
Good friend of mine.
I'll put it in the chat.
Please, everybody, do give it a chat. You know, it's a track by my friend. His name's Gav. He's just putting out some new music, and I know a lot of people have grown very fed up of rap music, but I think rap music has definitely developed where there's a lot of good underground stuff out there. So I feel like, as long as we're out there sharing the music, let's share the stuff that's, from people like us. I will say definitely my friend helped me become the guy who I become today. So I got a lot of respect and time for Gav. And I would tell anybody, especially anybody with a taste for UK music or who lives in the UK or Europe, definitely just give it a check. See what you like, leave a comment, you know what I'm saying? He's definitely got some interesting stuff. And it's not so much just my friend MCs on the corner. It's like my friend is really making and dropping some dope art right there. And even to that point, right, here's another thing I want to also say. I will give Spike Lee his fucking beat down today. One thing that people in the UK who are in the music industry, who have been in the music industry for a long time, will say is that, you see, it took a while, obviously, for UK grime music and UK hip hop to become, what it is today. And a part of that is because the same way Spike Lee is complaining about Black British actors suffocating the limited space in the acting world for Black American actors. A lot of people don't know how hip hop from the US was a major competitive issue in some regards to artists in the UK, because obviously America has a lot of mainstream money. Mainstream hip hop got a lot of money from outsiders and all that, got well out of our control and all that type of stuff. But when it comes overseas and it is the constant only rap music allowed, it definitely became a point where sometimes we'd be sat over here wishing our MCs could be on the radio rather than 50 Cent or Dr. Dre and blah, blah, blah. So in a sense, what I'd say is that, yes, Spike Lee has talking points which are worth talking about, but something which Black America, not so much Black America, but like Black Americans who don't like us, coming over and acting and stealing spaces. Well, there's a lot of MCs in the UK who may or may not have got a career based on the fact that music with $100,000 and millions.
Hold on. Somebody's who's calling me? No, don't.
It's them Moors. They heard you. Them Moors heard you.
Yeah.
They calling you from Morocco, and boy, they want worse. But yeah, like the hip hop thing, and interestingly, it really did kind of at a lot like a while, especially in the early 2000s. It hindered a lot of development in grime and that, and getting it on mainstream radio and getting certain media play and all that type of stuff. And a really big way that we can tell this in the UK is if you compare it with France. France has a very big hip hop industry in of itself, of French hip hop. And that's because in the 80s, the French government made a law that said all music played on the radio in France, 50% of it had to be made in France and
That's
in
smart.
French.
That's smart.
Yeah. So, you know, the French government kind of backed them in that regard, which helped them now have a lot of music artists and a lot of great music. Whereas in the UK, they didn't give a damn about us. They were like, sod it. Like, you know, we'll put Eminem and 50 Cent on the radio. That's fine. All of you little scumbags from Tottenham and Stratford, you lot just go away.
Okay, real quick, I'm going to let Sub-Zero on for, we'll roll for about 10, 15 more minutes. And I got
that's beautiful.
I got a appointment. Let's see here. Let me send the link. Sub-Zero, I'm about to send you the link. All right, Sub-Zero, I sent the link. All right, go ahead. Go ahead, David. Finish your
Oh, hold on a sec. Bingo. But yeah, so as much as it doesn't change the situation in acting, because acting and music are different things, but all I'm trying to emphasize is that, you know, everyone grew up a fan of, you know, major hip hop and all that type of stuff back in the day. Like, you know, we all listened to the Ja Rules and the Ashantis and all that other type of stuff. But I think it's important everyone, including Black British actors going to Hollywood, as well as American actors shipping, you know, Black American rap music around the world, which is that, yes, try not to infringe on space, because it's actually because of how grime got kind of hindered for a few years and all that type of stuff and had to compete against big money from American mainstream signed artists. That's actually part of the reason why I actually do give Spike Lee a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, in the sense, not the benefit of the doubt, but kind of give him a little bit of credit.
All right, Sub-Zero's on. Sub-Zero, what's up, brother?
What's going on? I was going to, they asked if I was going to talk about an $80 an hour IT job. No, man, but I disagree totally. I think Spike Lee made a good point. I think the time is out. I think Black people are starting to wake up in America and see a lot of different other people from other cultures are coming in and taking opportunities from the people who literally built this country. So I think that it's only right that people start speaking up. And the only reason I say this is because if those people were to come over and to really deal with us and assimilate into the African American ethos experience.
Hey, you gotta roll your windows up, Sub-Zero.
Yeah, so if they were to come over and, you know, matriculate into the African American ethos experience and really, you know, rock with the culture like Marcus Garvey or Monie Love, or say what?
How would, in the modern day, how would you, let's take John Boyega, the guy from Star Wars, yeah? How is that brother going to come to America and assimilate into the culture? Because from everything
hold on. I wasn't talking about just the culture. I wasn't talking about just Hollywood. I was talking about as a whole. If you listen to what I said, I said African American. Hold on, let me talk, brother, because you've been talking for a while, saying a lot of stuff. I heard you, man. You didn't read it before. I disagree with this shit. I disagree with people coming from.
Let me ask you this, Sub-Zero. Should should ADOS be upset at non-ADOS, I guess, immigrants coming to America and taking opportunities from, taking opportunities in quotation marks from them in quotation marks that are being provided by white corporations?
I think they should. I think because for one, I do agree that I believe we should have our own. I believe that. But a lot of times it's just like if you're trying to start a business and you're making $30,000 a year, how you gonna start? How you gonna be able to start a business? If you're making, so a lot of opportunities, like I do IT, I work with people that make $80 an hour. If I do see a Black person, they're African or Caribbean born, they're not, or their parents are. So this, if you take the wealth of African Americans in this country and you subtract the foreign born people that have a lot, the middle class would shrink, and we would really get an accurate picture of where we are collectively as a people. I think our numbers get skewed by high earning people that come here. And what I was saying before I was cut off was that I wouldn't have a problem with it if these people a lot of times would come over here with the mindset that we're going to intermarry, that we're going to assimilate into the culture itself. A lot of times these people more so have more in common with Caucasians. They don't deal with us. This has been well documented. I'm not just pulling this out my ass. This is well documented.
Okay. From my perspective, yeah, sitting over here in the UK, and you're not going to like what I'm about to say, but especially where you said about, you know, people coming over and assimilating with Caucasian and stuff like that. Okay. But for the record, that's something which a lot of Black Brits say about a lot of Black Americans that come over and work over here as well. In the sense that I get you, all right, okay. The foreign-born blacks or the blacks from elsewhere are, for the white people in control, often more favorable than the black people you've been fucking over at home. Okay, that's fine. My question is how? Because you said about marrying like into black. Okay, marriage is one way. I didn't know that, and I'm still questionable of how many of these you know, first generation Africans and Caribbeans. I'm questionable of how many of them are marrying black opposed to white. I know some do. I know some people like you'll go on TV and start saying all that shit. I get that, but in the acting space, I just want to know, like, okay, so
I'm gonna go ahead and give you a bone. I don't think them motherfuckers should be getting jobs over African Americans anyway. There's plenty of black people that graduate from HBCUs. They got drama department. You have a drama department at Alabama State University, where I'm from. Plenty of out of work African Americans that don't get jobs because a lot of these people that come over here from Africa and the Caribbean are coons. So, and these people are actually more malleable. That's what I'm saying. So they don't have a real sense of the history, the heritage, and what's going on in this country. A lot of them are straight up ignorant as to what the fuck we done been through over here. They don't know. They come and take advantage of shit. They prefer to let these you know, British people come over here and get jobs because they're not like us. So a lot of them aren't.
Let me ask this question, Sub-Zero. Let me ask this question, David, real quick. So should the beef be towards the people who are controlling and make the final decision on who gets hired, or should we be going after the non-ADOS?
I would say both. I would say that yes, the beef has always been.
But I think that's the problem. I see more of the hate going towards the non-ADOS versus the people who are, at the end of the day, signed the check.
I mean, but we've been talking about racism, white supremacy in this country for hundreds of years. So it's not like we're stopping and saying, okay, let's stop talking about racism, white supremacy. Let's just focus on non-ADOS. No, what I'm saying is I have non-ADOS students in my class that I teach. I'm not tripping. Some of these brothers are cool. They rock with. A lot of them are cool. I'm not saying every non-ADOS fucker. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that there are a lot of them who come to America who don't want to deal. I've went to church with people who specifically told their kids, "Don't you bring a nigga home." These are black people that's darker than me and you put together.
Does that happen?
But they still say what?
Does that happen both ways?
Well, we don't care. See, that's the thing. You guys might have. Hold on. Hold on. You guys may have been called African booty scratcher one time, and that shit scarred you for the rest of your life. Hold on. Let me talk. You may have been called a name once or twice. You hold that shit. Hey, we over here, black people don't really give a damn. We don't embrace an African or Jamaican.
Can I ask you a question? If I was an African immigrant in America, listening to what you said there, wouldn't it be you that's kind of preventing me from integrating into your culture?
No, it wouldn't, because all I'm saying is, no, it's not. What I'm saying is, if you like for example, do we look at Slick Rick? Slick Rick is where you from?
Yeah.
Moni Love. Hold on, Moni Love is on the radio right here in Atlanta. We're not like angry at Moni Love. We're not angry. We didn't have a problem with Marcus Garvey. We didn't have a problem with a lot of
you forgot somebody. 21 Savage is from where.
That's what I'm saying. We embrace. It's not. Let me say this. We are the most loving. It's just that over the years, a lot of people are starting to become aware of a lot of discrimination that these foreigners have against us. I've dealt with it personally from Africans in this country. myself. I've seen it. I've dated girls and their parents had a problem with it because they don't want you dating a Nakata, all that stuff. I was called a Nakata some years ago, not knowing what it meant, and all of them started laughing, bunch of Africans laughing, and I didn't know what it meant at the time. See what I'm saying? We don't have this anger like that. Do they get called? Everybody gets clowned in the black community. I get clowned. Who Dinah's probably got clowned growing up. Africans use that one phrase and say, that's what they call me when I got here. Then when you get your jobs, you go like, at I think one university, 85% of the black people on the campus are non-ADOS. This is an Ivy League school. So these are quality jobs. Robert Smith, the guy that gave the money to Morehouse, he went to Cornell. These are the type of positions you can go to. What's the name of that company? Goldman Sachs. You come out of there, you're making $250, $300. These are powerful positions that non-ADOS people are being put in. They don't have any culture. They don't relate to us. They don't have anything. They go out of their way because their parents raised them not to deal with us. A lot of times. And for people who don't even live in this country to think that that's not a case when I live here, and it's me, Tariq Nasheed, a lot of people have cited this in numerous occasions. Most of the people that you hear pushing this LGBT bullshit are people that are born, that have parents that don't have shit to do with us. That's not.
Wait.
Hold on, I got to interject. Sub-Zero has a point. In fact, I'll give you a prime example. I was listening to Lovey, her book. She's a Nigerian. You know, she's an American. But David, he has a point. A lot of this fuckery that's being pushed and the platforms that are given are to non-ADOS. He has a point about that one.
That part I've seen, and to some effect, I'm going to agree. To some effect, a lot of the faces of these, like a lot of the faces of the kind of Shea Butter world, the Roots, the Ebonies, a lot of them are first generation immigrants, and a lot of them are African Americans. And if you take the first generation immigrants away, here's my question. I'm not saying that because I've seen it with my own eyes, but my question really is how many? Like, yes, the face of a few things definitely are these first generation Africans and Caribbeans. But I've always just said, okay, but legitimately, how many? Because in my life, I've never seen an African culture, especially not Nigerians or Ghanaians, where LGBT is the first thing that comes out of our mouths. Like, again, it may be something which first generations pick up and promote, and you're right. To some effect, I don't think that it's good to have non-native Black Americans.
I got one for you on that, but go ahead. I got something for you on that. The point is this, man. Hollywood is ran by Jews, okay? Like,
so why is it the problem with us then?
Hold on, let me talk. I got a major problem with them. Major. Don't worry about it. Zionists, not all of them, but Zionists. I made a few videos where I went in on them for a lot of this. So who would be more malleable? A person
Sub-Zero. The wind, you try like the wind in the background is
my bad, bro. But all I was saying was the person that would be more malleable for this situation would be the person with, like David Banner, for example. David Banner has an uncle that was lynched, right? You got a guy coming from Great Britain who doesn't have that culture. He's been racist. I ain't saying he hasn't dealt with it. He will look at this shit way different than me. My mom and dad. Hold on, let me talk. My mom and dad was round the corner. Bro. You gonna let me get it out, bro? You gonna let me? Because you've been talking, saying a lot of stuff. I said I wouldn't know here. I just want to make a point. When Martin Luther King house blew up, my mom and dad was round the corner and watched him put his house out. We're trying to put his house out. Those types of people, if their children get in Hollywood, they would look at shit a lot different than somebody who was born in Africa, who looked at America as the city on the shining city. They get here, they're so happy to be here. A lot of shit there. So that's why they're easy to be infiltrated with this LGBT shit, because they don't look at it like we do.
Okay, well, again, for me, I'll say this. I've been around particularly Africans in, my whole life. I am African, and I just, maybe in America, and I've seen it. I've seen some of the figureheads of some of these movements be first-generation Africans, but I've never seen this as some sort of large-scale thing that you could attribute to Africans rather than to people raised in America. That's just my 2 cents. I've never seen this widespread culture of it because at the same time...
And what demographics have you done any time? Do you have any empirical data to back that?
Hold up. Everyone in the world turns around and goes to Africa and says, you have to make homosexuality illegal. You have to do this. You have to do that. So for me, if we're going to start talking about all of this fuckery being a part of being African, to me, that sounds like bullshit because then why...
No, I didn't say that. You're making a straw man, brother. You can calm down. I didn't say that. I know that's distinctively not African. I hate the fact that Obama and Hillary pushing that bullshit over there. I hated that. That's why he didn't get my vote. So I get you. I'm with you on that. What I'm saying is, all I was saying, brother, was that it's good that African Americans are starting to take an assessment of people who ally. When I say African, I mean ADOS, who are taking, well, for us to take an assessment as to who has benefited us is a sign of intelligence, political intelligence. We're starting to wake up. And I think for somebody to come over here and get jobs and opportunities, and we take notice and we bring attention to that is good. Because what it will do is it will shine that light on a lot of this. Because don't tell me that that's not, if you talk about racism and white supremacy, don't tell me that that wouldn't be one of their strategies. Because it actually is.
Definitely. And to some effect, I don't completely 100% disagree with you. But to look at this and to acknowledge that Hollywood is not ran by us, and to lay the blame back at us, to me is unproductive. Because it's like, all right, cool. We got to make our mind up. Do we want to start our own thing? Do we want to run our own thing? I watched the movie that David Banner was in yesterday on Netflix, the one where he plays the guy coming out of jail and all that type of stuff, right? Great movie, well directed. Master P was in it. Romeo Miller was in it. I didn't see an overabundance of Black British actors. To me, David Banner's living the exact solution to Spike Lee's problem. My problem is that Spike Lee is too high up to be stupid. He's actually done these things.
I don't even look. I don't even. I'm not a fan of Spike Lee in this sense because Spike Lee to me has sold out. To me, when I looked at Black Klansman, a lot of that, even in Black Klansman, they put a Jew in there to make the guy his partner, and they made a lot of points about Jews to kind of soften it so that it can get funded. He playing the game. Spike Lee plays political games in Hollywood, so I see that. What I'm saying is, I just think at the end of the day, as I said before, I think it's good for us as people to start. Because when you got 85% at some of these Ivy League universities, non-ADOS, that's a problem. That's a problem when you got 30.
What are African immigrant teenagers supposed to do? Not go to Harvard?
Well, first of all, hold on. Good. I'm glad you said that. Let me give you a solution. Brother. I got you. This is the thing. Let's not classify them as African American because they're not. If you're gonna go to Harvard, go. But you ain't one of us. That's all.
Africans.
Because at the end of the day, this is the thing. Your ancestors some of them probably the ones sold us into slavery. A lot of them are not the ones that have been through the shit we've been through. If you take those people coming out of those Ivy League universities, you extract their income and wealth from the Black community, we are in a worse situation than we are. These people have no allegiance to us. If you look at the girl that does Insecure, Issa Rae.
Okay, so David, Issa Rae, non-ADOS. Your girl, her sidekick,
Molly.
Yeah, she's not ADOS, ain't she?
Amanda said, nah, Issa Rae Senegalese.
Issa Rae Senegalese, I know that.
The thing is, even in that, these people, the people that did Black Panther, they've made speeches saying they pushing African first. They don't give a fuck about us. They about them. So if you gonna have that mindset, hold your own nuts.
What, Chadwick Boseman?
Oh no, I'm not. I'm talking about what the girl that played Okoye in Black Panther. She made a speech about what she's about. Where these people are over here to proliferate their situation. Them coming over here taking jobs and opportunities. That's what they talk about. So hold on. So they want to come over here and be They want to come over here and be activists and push their ideology and push what I ain't gonna say ideology, but just take opportunities. I'm saying let's separate them from us because these people ain't down with us, obviously, and that's the thing. That's just facts. You're not one of us. If you coming over here taking jobs and opportunities, let me talk. The position of ADOS people in this country, like Dr. Claude Anderson said, has not moved an iota in 150 years. And then when you finally get over here, you're taking opportunities and stuff like that. It's just it's like, and I don't even like Yvette Carnell, but she's right. It makes it look like there's a black middle class. It makes it look like there's black wealth when it's not. Because these people come over here. When we start counting the collective wealth and income of African Americans, take them out. I guarantee you we'll drop $5,000-$6,000 in income.
Okay. And here's my question. Right?
Real quick, Sub-Zero. I'm African. So I understand where she's coming. Like I said, I'm Africa first. So, I mean, in fact, I know a lot of so-called, in quotation marks, ADOS, because of our experience here in America, I say ADOS, who are Africa first.
My question is this, right? Homeboy just said that we should not, as Africans moving to America, we shouldn't self-identify as African Americans because it fucks up stats. Okay, cool. But then at the same time, I've seen loads of people say, oh, they don't associate themselves with us. So what is it? Do we come in and do we all come in and try and be one big fucking family? Or do we say, nah, we're Africans, you're African Americans or Black Americans, etc., etc. What is it? My problem is nobody's giving me a solution. We're talking about Black American teenagers who are first generation Nigerians getting into Harvard for medicine or some shit like that. Okay, what is the solution? Because the problem is that, all right, fine. Maybe these Nigerians or these Ghanaian first generations, maybe they are taking up places in Harvard. Okay. And I think to myself, what? So are we going to ask children to avoid good educations for that? In a sense, it's like, okay, I get that. But what?
Brother, I heard your last point, then I dropped off. Let me say this. You can't have it. I don't want them to have it both ways. I'd rather they classify you like Hispanics, Asians, whatever.
So isn't that
because hold on. That's what I was talking about culture. When you don't want to intermarry, when you go out of your way to disassociate yourself, when you go out your way to let me know you from Cape Verde or you from wherever, then clearly you're trying to distinguish yourself. And I say, okay, give them that. Then you shouldn't be able to go to college on an African American scholarship. You shouldn't be able to come to Tuskegee University.
Okay.
And you should not be able to come to a lot of these HBCUs. If you're gonna come as a foreign student from Africa, well, then that's cool. But if you go, hold on, let me talk. If you're gonna go, listen, you brother, you getting emotional. You're not letting me finish my point. You're not letting me finish. Let me give you this word, brother. Let me give you this word. Calm down. This is the thing. You should not be allowed to come if under African American status. If you're gonna go a different way. That way we'll have a more accurate understanding and we can move ADOS further. That's what we can do. When you got a country, you got a continent where these people will kill 1 million and try to wipe out a certain segment of a population. I ain't got this kumbaya mindset. I don't have it because I don't see it. I don't see it reciprocated. I don't. And as far as what you said about hip hop and stuff like this, hey, if y'all had to be like, hey man, like did what Friends did, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. I would not have had a problem. Say what?
Say that last part again about hip hop.
You said that what they did in France was they made a law where it had to be 50%. Yeah. I didn't have a problem with it. But when we try to do it, it's a problem. But if they do it in France, that was a good thing.
Wait.
So I think, why is it that they can do it in France? It's a good thing. But if we start saying, hey man, we need to do, hold on. But if we start saying the same thing, it's a problem.
The French government did that for their own reasons. My problem is if Black people in France got to a position where they couldn't get their music industry up and running because Black Americans had all of the money and all of the dominance in global music, and then they were bitching.
I mean, it took y'all time because first of all, y'all didn't invent hip hop. So hold on, you guys didn't invent hip hop, right? So it took time.
So go to the white people who are in control of these situations and tell your U.S. government, tell them we don't identify with Africans. Get it?
Cool. And that's what we're doing. That's what a lot of people are doing.
So
I agree.
This whole thing comes back to Spike Lee's comments to Black British actors, and my problem still isn't solved, which is why are you taking up all this energy with us? Take it up with the people who are actually in control.
And we take the energy up with them as well as your ass. You got to get it too. You got to get the work too. That's the problem. You don't want it.
Sub-Zero. Can I interject Sub-Zero now? I got to disagree with you. I don't see ADOS giving patrolling everything that work. The same work like they're giving
Wait a minute.
ADOS. I disagree.
Wait. So when they had a whole hashtag a while ago, Oscar so white. So you telling me that people have not been upset about the fact that it took from Hattie McDaniels to Halle Berry. You talking about almost 70 years before a woman won Oscar, black woman. It's so many different situations.
No, but the Oscar so white hashtag didn't it included.
That's because at the time the culture
it didn't separate non-ADOS.
But at the time, you're right, because at the time the narrative 3 years ago wasn't like it is now.
Right.
That's what now the ADOS movement is becoming is proliferating. A lot of people are starting to wake up and see it. Now we look at it completely different.
But what I'm saying is, okay, so let's move up 3 years. So we'll speed up to now. I don't see ADOS going after white institutions saying, look, these so-called non-ADOS cut them.
Okay, well, I can show you when the students at Cornell, the students at Cornell complained about and went to Cornell complaining because they were doing exactly what I'm saying.
Okay, and you know what the solution is for that? I'll give
go to an HBCU. That's what I was saying. But go ahead.
Okay, the solution for it is this is the thing, David. I mean, Sub-Zero and David. If you have Chinese, Japanese, East Indians who are upset about, I guess, less opportunities to go to these HBCUs or enrollment positions for these HBCUs for them, they don't go after each other. They go after our black asses. So the solution would be for ADOS to go to the board and say, look, either you create more positions or more enrollment positions for ADOS, or you take away positions from white women, Indians, Chinese.
So Donis, in order to do that, the first thing they're trying to do right now, they're talking in 2020 about separating us in the census. ADOS is going to become its own class. That's what they're trying to do. There are people that are actually moving. This will happen. What you just said is about to happen. I'm not worried about it. Once you start taking the people and telling them to identify historically accurate like that, what it will do then is it will allow for this stuff to happen. That's what you'll see. Because if you go to a HBCU, I mean, a Ivy League school, and it's 99% non-ADOS, it's going to be a sore thumb. Everybody's going to see it. Companies in the tech department, if it's 100% non-ADOS, and I'm the only ADOS guy in there, like, I ain't going to go there. But I'm just saying, when you see stuff, then people can point this out. Because we have a different, what did Dr. Claude say? We are a peculiar people. We have no other people have a history just like ours in this country. For us to just sweep and call ourselves black like that and just let everybody come in that has melanin and nappy hair is foolish.
But at the same time, and in David, at the same time, and Sub-Zero in regards to these Ivy League schools being predominantly non-ADOS, why doesn't the African find value in their institutions and universities on the continent? I think that's the problem as well.
I think one, you're right. There's always that whole thing of their ice is cooler when we're dealing with other people and that. But at the same time, Dinus, you can say better than me, right? Because you have traveled the continent, and this is the real crux of it all, especially when it comes to, in particular, education, because Africans are very on education. Why? Because let's just be honest. To some effect, yes, I understand the differences and that type of stuff. But Dinus, you've seen the poverty that a lot of these first generations parents came from. And
I do, but my thing, David, is that
I feel like that's an unspoken part of why a lot of these Africans are getting into the Ivy League schools. Not just because I don't think anyone's smarter than each other. I just feel that African.
I agree. I agree with you. 1,000%. I think they work harder. It's a culture thing.
So for me, my question is okay, as an African, what do the first generation and second generation Africans do to create a better environment? I don't disagree with your points on identification, but we as Africans, we can't go somewhere and then usually just control and shake and change everything. But the change is being made. What can we do?
I think. Go ahead.
My answer to that is, third generation comes. They prepare the second generation. Second generation needs to go back to their countries and help build it. In fact,
I love that.
Sub-Zero has a picture of Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington had the what was it? Come on, help me out, Sub-Zero. What did he come up with where he wanted to make sure black people were self-sufficient? What was it called?
The Atlanta Compromise. The Atlanta Compromise.
No. The Tuskegee
Institute.
No, it's the Tuskegee something. We'll just say the Tuskegee Institute. What he wanted was he wanted to bring in African immigrants. So basically, with the Tuskegee Institute, he wanted black people in America to be completely self-sufficient. And that's kind of where ADOS is dropping the ball at. But let me finish. He wanted black people in America to be completely self-sufficient from everything from making their own underwear, food, the Tuskegee Plan, I think it was called. Food, underwear, clothes, everything made by black people for black people.
Like Thomas St. Carl. Yeah.
Where we're completely self-sufficient from white people. He wanted to take this and implement it throughout Africa. So what he did, he allowed African students to come in and go to Tuskegee University under the condition that once they learn the Tuskegee model, that's what it's called, the Tuskegee model. Once they learn the Tuskegee model, they will have to then go back and implement it and help build up their countries. The problem is a lot of immigrants come over here and get too comfortable. And so that's why we see the Issa Rays, the Loveys, all of a sudden, instead of being Nigerian, Senegalese, they turn into...
I was at a conference. I went to a conference a while ago with just Ugandans. And I was at the conference, and there was this girl I knew. She was cool, but a lot of the guys, of course, they didn't like me around the women, of course, whatever. But at the same time, they were talking about this place. This girl was from a certain part of the bush, and she was talking about how these kids don't have a way to get educated and different things. So I came up with a couple of ideas, and I gave these guys my number. I never heard from them. I called, left messages, different things. And these people were very high earning, driving $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 cars, database developed. Some of them did what I do. These guys were very comfortable in their lifestyles doing what they do. America, I know it is what it is, but
Actually, do you know what? I got one point actually, and I'll throw this out there. Do you think that the same reason why African immigrants, who we all acknowledge are coming from the worst level of poverty on the earth, when they come to America, they get comfortable, they get a job working for somebody else, not a business that they're starting up for themselves. They get comfortable, they stay. Do you think that in a sense is similar to the whole thing? Because I got a lot of people over here that sometimes say, well, black Americans have got all this cool stuff in America. Like, how come they don't start their own industry in that as well? Do you think that it's a similar thing of not wanting to do for self and work for somebody else?
You know what? I agree 1,000%. I think that's what it is. I think a lot of African Americans, ADOS, are, and I think it's psychological, because historically there's a lot of history that's just people don't know because they didn't write it down. Like sundown towns, you have to do weird little studies to even find out that after 1890, in 1890, black people were in North Dakota. They went to all these different states, Montana. We were everywhere. Then all of a sudden, the Klan came out, got strong. And a lot of people started moving into these major cities, and that's where we have kind of settled at. And we did the Great Migration, but we still stayed within major metropolitan urban areas. And so a lot of opportunity in these states didn't go to us. It went to people that were there. And even in Memphis, for example, there was a guy who had a store at the People's Grocery in Memphis. This guy was outperforming everybody. African-American, former slave. They got some torches and guns, burned it down, dragged him out, cut his penis off, hung him, tortured him. This is the history we've seen for hundreds of years. We've been seeing this and watching this. My granddaddy told my dad when he was little, he remembers the summer of 1919. He didn't call it that. The red summer of 1919, my granddad was in Montgomery. They burned down. He said, man, they was going after the banks and the businesses. That's what they were doing. So when you see this going on for hundreds of years, and it's been going on a long time. So then when people are like that bird that's been, or that animal that's been, you open the cage, but he don't want to come out. He's going to come out. We going to come out. We are coming out. But it's taking time, and that's where we are. I was born about 5 years after we got the right, well, 60, like, I was born in 74. These guys, think about it, like a few years after the damn civil rights movement was over. Just how close we are to that stuff. You talking to somebody that was, I'm not saying I saw all, I did see certain things, but I didn't see it as bad as it was when my mom and with the stuff she used to tell me about what she saw. She remembers hangings. She remembers that. She remember when they used to go to the church and sit there. And this ain't, but I can call my mom right now. This is like a few years away. So we are early in our growth and development. And I think in time, we'll take our place in the sun like Superman, right?
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not even going to be, I don't even want to come off like I don't respect everything you just said. I really actually genuinely do respect that. And I don't think that anybody can come from outside and just emulate or just come in. No, there's richness and struggle and pain in that culture. And I respect the hell out of it. However, not to disagree with you, but a point which is always brought up, and in particular, I'm gonna die on this square fighting this point about how sometimes it comes across in terms of perceptions. I don't like the whole trying to say who got the worst torture. There's, you know what? Yes, we all acknowledge what's gone on. But at the same time, I want to speak to something called the sus laws. Not a lot of people know about the sus laws, but the sus laws was not. It was a similar type of racial discrimination, which gave police a large amount of power in the UK to randomly lock up who? The black poor throughout the 60s and the 70s. Skinhead culture that started here in the UK, riots. You know, one of my older relatives, he's in his 80s. He came here in the early 60s. And he talked about, again, not the same as African American, but the same white supremacist evil in the world. It's been played on us. So to some effect, all I'll say is this. I'm not taking away a single thing.
I mean, I don't think nobody. I think black people have been oppressed all over the world. Africa, yeah. I think that would be profoundly disrespectful and ignorant if I went to Africa. If I went to London and said y'all ain't do nothing, they just accepted y'all and gave y'all everything. No, y'all went through some shit just like we did. Agreed.
For me, from the Black Brit point of view, the biggest thing that will get, in my opinion, a lot of Black Brits out there speaking back or jumping back or in this debate is this idea that Black Brits, in a sense, like don't have an understanding of the problem. We're not saying we have the same understanding as you, but we've got dead bodies and dead grandparents, riots, lynchings. I'm not saying that we got the same thing as like the Klan and all that type of stuff, but skinhead culture did start here. I'll say we definitely have a whole lot of skinheads. I'll say that. But for me, to some effect, not you, but that's why it's comments like what Spike Lee said always start to push a bit of a red button. And the same
but that's it. I think where we can lead this argument or disagreement is, I think that we should just separate and like you agree that we should look at it differently. That way it won't be a problem, because now it'll just be so obvious. See, because when you see Lupita, you think, oh, look at this, and you got people out here thinking that's one of us. No, Lupita went to Yale, her parents are African. She ain't one of us. Okoye, when you see these people, when you see Issa Rae, when you see the girl Molly that plays Molly, when you see all these people, that's not us. I think that would be good. I think the only thing we can take from solace from it is, you know what? Hey, they got melanin, they got the same hair. That's all we could take from it. Okay. But it sure as hell ain't one of us.
One final question, I suppose. Like, as me and Dinus were talking earlier, we brought up everyone from Forrest Whitaker to Denzel Washington to Jennifer Hudson playing Africans, Will Smith playing Africans. In the same breath where people are, in a sense, wanting or expecting or suggesting that Black British actors should step away from Black American roles, particularly historical ones, are we going to see, do you think that you would see the same thing from your side?
Well, I'm going to say this right here. You guys ain't in the same position we are in because, first of all, we were fighting in America to even see Black movies in the first place. It wouldn't be no done Mandela movie. It wasn't a lot of this stuff. A lot of stuff got greenlit because those guys that you just, well, I don't know about Jennifer Hudson, but I know Denzel. A lot of these guys had to paint certain had to do certain things to open these doors in the first place before you can even start talking about parity and equality in that. So
No.
hold on. You talking about movie? Hold on. You talking about an organization? When you talk about Hollywood. Hold on. I don't hear you. I really don't hear you, brother. Hold on.
Have control over the situation now. How are you going to then come and tell us that you don't have to walk away from African roles, but we have to walk away from African?
No, brother, I didn't finish. Damn, can I finish first? That's what I'm saying. You get me emotional. What I was trying to say was, now we getting to a point where I wouldn't give a shit. If somebody want to get an African, they want to get John Boyega to play an African or whoever, African, well, I wouldn't care. But if you go back and look at Hollywood's history, like in the 1980s, there was a movie with Richard Pryor called The Toy, where this white man leased him like a damn slave for his son. These are the types of movies roles that we had to play to get where we are now. It's just, do you understand that in the late 90s, there had never been an African-American drama ever? You see what I'm saying? On TV show? In the late 90s.
What about like Moesha and like stuff like that?
No, that's a comedy. I'm talking about a drama.
Oh,
There was a show called Laurel Avenue that was on in the early 90s, and it lasted like 1 or 2 seasons. There had never been that. So when you start looking at it, just look at it through the spectrum of who's going to open those doors. The people that live in this country. So now, if you want to play Africa, if you go to Africa, and you want to get African actors, I don't have no problem with it to play African. It was a big deal because of Black Panther, but other than that, most movies, it's plenty of movies like the show All American. That guy is African, right? Or London, he's British. Like, if you look at that movie, that show, that guy he has to go and learn the language from Dub C, from Mad Circle and stuff. I don't know if you just get a guy from California to play it.
The South Africans said the same thing about Steve Biko being played by Denzel Washington.
And I'm cool with that. But Denzel had to open the door. Denzel opened the door. Hold on. Denzel opened doors in Hollywood. Denzel, as a black man, was opening doors at the time. So, okay, that's different.
I don't get it. To me, it's like this, right?
So, I can help you real quick. So, you telling me you don't understand the racist? Hollywood is the most racist group of people. Okay, so you tell me that even in the 80s, 90s, like, go back and watch some of these old 80s movies with black people in them. And watch the movie Soul Man with this white guy came out in blackface. Hold on. They had a white guy go get in blackface in a movie called Soul Man to play a black guy. That shit we would burn the fucking streets down today if that movie came out. Back in the 80s, that shit was normal.
Downey Jr. was in.
I grew up in America. You didn't. It's a different. I understand this shit a little different than you do.
Like, come on. All I'm saying is this, right?
All right, so hold on, real quick. So Sub-Zero, should ADOS play African roles? Yes or no?
I don't. They don't have to know. If they got a chance to get a role to the African, let them get it.
No. Should ADOS play African roles?
If I make a movie, I'm gonna put all ADOS in there. I don't fuck.
Okay. So you're saying that ADOS. So you have no problem with ADOS playing in African roles?
No, I'm saying that they can be allowed. I don't see if you go to White Hollywood. If White Hollywood has an African film and they put an African in that role, I'm cool with it. Like the girl from Hotel Rwanda.
No. Okay, you're missing my question, Sub-Zero. Okay, so Forrest Whitaker, who is ADOS, played Idi Amin, who's an African. Do you have any issue with that?
I don't have an issue with it because at the time, I think he was trying to show a different side. But if somebody come along today, because that was about 7-8 years ago, somebody comes along today and do a movie like that and they put an African in it, fine. But it probably won't get the same amount of attention and Oscar buzz that it got. It won't. Not because they won't do a good job. They probably do a better job. But because his name, he has a name, this guy has paid dues. That has to be accounted. Like, okay, so Cry Freedom got, this guy paid dues. Denzel paid dues to even get Cry Freedom, Glory. This dude done all types of films. Malcolm X. So Denzel, Forrest Whitaker are bad examples of guys that when they play roles, because these guys bring Oscar buzz, people are green lighting the move. I'm trying to make money. They're going to look at it like that. But if you just say all things equal, I don't have a problem with an African playing an African.
Okay. Okay. So, do you have the issue with 12 Years a Slave? That played the main character was a British Nigerian. The Lupita.
Yeah, I felt like he does not understand our culture. He did. It was a decent movie. I saw it one time. It was a decent movie, but I think a brother would have played that better. That's just me.
But it got the Oscar buzz.
It did, because any movie where you saw a nigga getting beat down like that, any movie where you saw a black slave, they feel like they little sex fantasy with Lupita. Why you think she became famous after that movie? Why you think Halle Berry won an Oscar after Monsters Ball and all you saw was she just getting beat down? That's all that movie was about. Why you think Lee Daniels is who he is? Why is Empire on television right now? Because the Zionist people that we talked about earlier are the real culprits in this whole situation when you're talking about who gets what.
So the Sub-Zero, if the Zionists are the real culprits, why are we going after each other? That's why I'm confused.
Say it again.
If the Zionists are the real culprits, why are we going after each other?
I'm not. I'm going to say this. Let me say this when I first got on. I said, if we actually kind of come together like how we thought like how a lot of African Americans feel and had this, if they really did have this, I wouldn't say kumbaya because that's a bad way of looking at it, but if we had this oneness and we kind of, like a lot of Jamaicans tend to do, because a lot of them, one thing I get them, they'll move right up in the hood. They'll rock. They'll be dating black. They'll be one of us. You won't know they Jamaican until later. Like a lot of the guys did in hip hop, like Busta Rhymes, his family. You know, certain people. You know, I think Heavy D was like that. Those, you know, if that happens, you won't hear nothing from me, because then I'm like, okay, now we won. But if in other areas, like you see them specifically going out of their way to separate and disassociate themselves and do certain things like we know it has been well documented in our culture, then it's a problem. So not all of them. I don't think I can say all. I think I can say some. But I think in light of that, because it's doing damage, we need to separate. Then if they want to come do that, then fine. If you want to go to HBCU, you want to go to Harvard, you want to go to Yale, but you identify as non-ADOS, I don't have no problem with it. But if you come in and say, okay, I'm black to get this scholarship, I get out, okay, I'm moving out in the suburbs, out in Alpharetta, I don't fool with it. That's different.
So, out of curiosity, and this is a general one, again, are the overwhelming majority of African immigrants living in like suburban America? Because one thing it's confusing to me a little bit.
David, I answer that for you. They're not. A lot of Africans I know, especially here in Atlanta, there's a large African Senegalese community in Riverdale. Riverdale is the hood. So
okay. That's what I'm confused with.
Wait, no. I think when they come here, a lot of them come here, they broke. I don't parents. I hate when I hear people say, well, only the wealthiest come over here. That's why they're doing well. No, these people are hardworking. We can learn something from these people. These people spend more time doing their homework. They just work hard. I give them credit. And I think we need to adopt that. It's only so many excuses you can make. I don't make excuses for mediocrity. What I'm saying, all I was saying was, the ones that rock with African culture, ADOS culture, we cool. Okay. Ain't got I don't. If I see Busta Rhymes, he's one of us. He cool. But if you don't, and it's easy. We know people know what I'm talking about. When we can play dumb and act like, okay, well, what do you mean identify? Come on, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if for example, the way a person treats a homosexual, I don't have shit to do with homosexuals. I see the motherfuckers that go the other way because they say something to me, probably be the one to slap the shit out of them. That's what it's a difference. But somebody I'm cool with, a brother from the hood or somebody, that's different. It's a whole different vibe. That's how I feel a lot of Africans treat us damn near like homosexual.
Okay. And I
gotta go back to my desk before I lose my damn contract.
Yeah. What we'll do? We'll go ahead. Hey, Sub-Zero, how can people reach you? I know you got your own YouTube page.
Sub-Zero 3639. One word. Sub-Zero 3639. Come walk with I run lifting the veil IT training. I just finished training some non-ADOS. I trained about 7 or 8 of them in database development, business intelligence. The jobs pay $80 an hour, like they say, But I'm trying to I'm trying to help build put a lot of us in this industry and help change what I see. Like when I go upstairs in a second, I ain't gonna see nothing but the other side, if you know what I mean. So that's it.
I'm subscribed.
David,
That's what's up, man. Thank you.
All right, David, go ahead and close out too, brother.
Oh yeah, if anybody wants to check me out, just check me out on Instagram at Breath of Fresh Air 29. That's at Breath of Fresh Air 29. If anybody out there is looking to experience some new music, again, In My Zone by Gav. That's Gav. This In My Zone. Very powerful track. Make sure you give it a listen. Love it, hate it, give it the like, the works, all of that. And to everybody, I say, even if we disagree on certain points, agree on certain points, it's nothing but love from over the water. And I don't want to see nothing but all of us succeed. We might disagree on the method, but hopefully we all gonna get there.
Yeah, well, everyone, thank you for joining us. But to Sub-Zero's point, my thing is, look, if you are an immigrant, your first allegiance or responsibility is still to your country of origin. Now, if you need to come and regroup and do what you need to do, that's fine. That's fine. But I just feel as if especially if you're an African immigrant, your first allegiance is still to your African country of origin. That's just how I feel. And I think sometimes from what Sub-Zero was saying, and I've experienced it, a lot of times you have immigrants that come here that pick up this Black, or to be honest with you, American or Black American identity, who are more involved and more passionate about American identity and politics instead of their own country. But they want to they still want to be separated and let you know that they're Nigerian or Ghanaian. And I think that's the problem.
Yeah, you're right. And that's why we don't have nothing.
Right, exactly. And then I go to Africa and I see what's going on. I'm like, look, y'all need to go back and help build up your individual countries, or it's going to be sold to the Chinese, Lebanese, Indians, so yeah.
No. Respect, brother. Respect.
Yeah. Anytime, brother. Anytime. But everyone, thank you for joining. Make sure you go to Search for Uhuru on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, and Facebook. Like, share, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, family. Till next time, please. Peace.
Peace.